Welcome, everybody. I know it's midnight on the East Coast, and this is late night even for me to do a live stream. But earlier today, I was going over all the Kennedy files and stuff that came up, and I'll give you the links in the description below how to access the National Archives. And you can look up these things, and a lot of these documents are old, handwritten, typed in a certain fashion and way, and it's hard to read. But before I do, I know there's no one coming on yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this video live, and because I just wanted to get it done, and because what I found is kind of shocking, and I know people will be surprised that I'm on without announcing. I wasn't sure I was going to come on tonight because last night, I got a text message from my best friend's wife, David, his wife, texted me and said that my best friend, who I'd known since the 1980s, I was best man at his wedding. He was best man at my wedding. And that's how far we go back. We ministered together. We did the jail ministry together, prison ministry for 10 years together. I mean, faithfully. And great singer, fantastic guitarist. And he went in the hospital and was in critical condition, and he's still in ICU. And I was able to visit him today. What he had is, they said he was called SAIDH, and it's where your body drops to low sodium levels. So his sodium level dropped to 111. Your normal sodium level is 135. Anything above 125 to 135 is acceptable. So this is low sodium. It caused him to get violently ill and then have a seizure at the hospital, and then he didn't know where he was. And so they've been in ICU giving him salt and testing him, and so far there's no organ issues going on or anything like that. A lot of people are praying for him, and I'd like for you guys out there also to be praying for him too, and his family. He's doing much better. He's talking now. His sodium levels beginning to rise. They're still going to try to find out the cause. They have to keep him in there for quite a few days and raise his sodium level and find out why he lost his sodium. It can be done by drinking too much water, or allergic reaction to some food, or some reaction to something. It can be caused by all kinds of diabetes, stuff like that. He has no medical, all that he's passed clearly. Has no diabetes, no organ damage, no brain tumor, nothing like that are usually the cause of this stuff. But there's a gland damage and gland issues and hormones that I don't know if they tested yet for those. Something could be going on with that. That's an easy fix with medication. So keep praying for him, especially his family and his wife. He's a really godly man. Good. He's like my right hand man. I'm all probably his right hand man too, So just keep him prayer. I didn't come here just to talk about that. I just want to tell you that I was there, and then I was preparing to do this earlier, but I just needed to get to the hospital and do that. And I thought, well, since I got it on here, I might as well just go ahead and jump right into the JFK papers, because a lot of people are. And I was actually kind of shocked, because you get two groups of people out there who are saying that, there's nothing to see here. The Warren Commission said it all. You don't need to look at this. And I'm going, then you read it and you go, huh? This stuff was redacted, 63,000 pages, 415 or 16 PDFs out there. They're listed. I got the document, National Archive link below, and you can look this up yourself. I'm going to quote and took some snippets and pictures of this, because all this is in public information released by the president. And the quality is kind of poor just to put it up there on my screen. So I have to cut, paste, put all this up there. I made all these earlier. And so I'm going to read to you some of these things that from the National Archive about JFK's assassination. And here's the National Archives website. I just took a screenshot of it. The links there on screen as well as in the link below in the description. It says JFK assassination records 2025 document release. March 18th, 2025 release. In accordance with President Donald J. Trump's directive, March 17, 2025, all records previously withheld for classification that are part of the President John F. Kennedy assassination records collections are released. The National Archives has partnered with agencies across the federal government to comply with the President's directive support of Executive Order 14176. And so you can go to the link and you can see and read these yourself. So I have some clips from these and they were shocking to me. And I forgot to put this one on there. The first one came out in the news when one of the head honchos over there announced that they were shocked to find out there was a second shooter. And that has been confirmed. But everyone tells you the Warren Commission got it right. Well, yeah, Oswald shot Kennedy. So there was a second shooter too. So that is equals a conspiracy. And so it seems like there was some sort of cover up because what the Warren Commission didn't release is what we see now. And because it was sealed and it's shocking, very shocking. So if you don't know who John F. Kennedy was, he was president during the 1960s, sworn in on November 61 and assassinated in November of 63. And that was a dark day in there. I was a little kid there, so I don't remember too much about that. All I remember the funeral more than I do his assassination. I know and my mom and dad were very upset. But I just pondered, why was he assassinated? So people say that the mafia assassinated him. He was assassinated by Fidel Castro. Well, according to the documents, Fidel Castro had nothing to do with it. According to the documents, I'll show you some here quickly, some snippets. The KGB didn't assassinate him. Someone else did. And was it the mob? I don't think so. I think it could be tied somehow to that, but most likely not. And so when you begin looking at 1 + 1 = 2 and look at the circumstantial evidence, and you find out the circumstantial evidence actually ties into events that are happening today. I'm not talking about what happened to Trump from this guy on a rooftop. I'm talking about a certain organization called US Aid that's kind of tied to this as well. Would you like to know how USA is tied to John F. Kennedy? Well, he started it. He started it in order to stop something else that was very crooked. And within that stopping and putting his foot down against these people, something happened to him. He was a president who authored, or not authored, but was one that practiced trickle-down economics, Reaganomics, before Reagan even made it popular. And he was a Democrat. He wanted a balanced budget. He wanted to make America great again. All those things. Kennedy, was he the most moral president? Absolutely not. I can't, not going to hide that. I'm not going to hide nothing from you. He was a womanizer. That's a fact. But he was a good president, for a president, and what he accomplished and did for the country. And at that time, during the 1950s, Eisenhower warned about a bunch of people, and Kennedy actually warned about the same group of people, warning to the news media not to choose sides on a political party, because bad things can happen, because you're in a mighty industrial, military industrial complex out there that is behind the scenes lurking. And so if the media doesn't criticize every president and does, as long as they don't choose sides, they can criticize equally, and thus the freedom of the press remains intact. But he warned against them not don't make sides. We already have news media that has chose sides. The majority of the media is on the progressive left side. Well, just Marxist side. You don't know what entranceism is. It's a nice fancy word saying how Marxists will take over the country by entering in each stage of the mountains of cultural influence and take them over and put their ideology in it, like DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and all that jazz in there. And it's a slow march to the institutions. And so I'm not going to get into all that. But when you look at the Kennedy thing, some shocking things have come out. So let's just jump right in to look at some of these documents. And I kind of pasted them up here. I had to do it this way. So there's a document up there on the far corner, but I tried to make it big, but it's so blurry, so I had to just take snippets out. It said in September, October 63, Lee Harvey Oswald. So we come back. Who is Lee Harvey Oswald? He's the one that shot John F. Kennedy from a book depository in Dallas, Texas. The motorcade that he was driving was supposed to drive straight, but instead they took a right and then took a left down Daily Plaza, however you say it, and right in the perfect sniper's place, a big tall building, a grassy knoll with a wall, and y'all had a bridge over there where somebody could be over by a bridge. You have perfect triangulation of fire. If you went down straight as they originally planned, that would not have been possible. So something right there was amiss, but then and Lee Harvey Oswald was involved in this. So let's look at what this report says about Lee Harvey Oswald, the person who assassinated Trump. And he also was a defector to Russia. And my family has a minor touch with Lee Harvey Oswald. You go, oh, no. Lee Harvey Oswald was in the Marines, I think he was. And my uncle flew in the U-2 spy planes. His name was Gary Francis Powers. He was shot down over Russia in 1960. And my picture as a little boy is I can be seen in one of the Life magazine or something. There's a picture of me there with the family, and sometimes my uncle's holding me and stuff. One of my favorite uncles. And when he got released from prison in Soviet prison in 1962, that's when I had all those pictures taken and everything. And that's my uncle. That's my mom's brother, and who died in 1977 in a helicopter crash in California. They're covering the San Bernardino fires. Besides that, the U-2 that my uncle flew crash landed. And so who was one of the guards of the U-2 was Lee Harvey Oswald. And there's a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald guarding the U-2 plane that was repaired that my uncle flew that got shot down over Russia. So that's the connection. We don't have nothing, no other connection other than a photograph with a plane. And they never met, personally never met, but just a little tidbit of information. I'm not making this up, okay? Just hope that's whets your appetite. So let's find out Lee Harvey Oswald. In September, October 63, Lee Harvey Oswald approached the Soviet embassy in Mexico City in an attempt to get a visa allowing him to return to the USSR. Koskinov, as a consular officer, handed this visa request. We had no information which indicates any relationship between these individuals other than for the purpose of Oswald's making the visa request. While in Mexico, he was considered by some to be the most effective and dangerous of intelligent officers in Mexico. He has been described as being without morals, education, and manners shortly after his arrival, okay, in which might be raised. Okay, Nikofov personally reviewed, this is so hard to read, reviewed the KGB, the files to determine if Lee Harvey Oswald had been a KGB agent. He reviewed in 5 thick volumes of the files of the Oswald. This guy, Nikolov, is now confident that Oswald was at no time an agent controlled by the KGB. From the description of Oswald in the files, he doubted that anyone could control Oswald, but noted that the KBG watched him closely and constantly while he was in the USSR. He commented that Oswald had a stormy relationship with his Soviet wife, that's a fact, who rode him incessantly. The file also reflects that Oswald was a poor shot when he tried to target firing in the USSR. That's kind of amazing. Um, so you can see some inconsistencies there in the report already. He wasn't a KGB agent, but it might have been some other type of agent, maybe a U.S. one, maybe an informant or something like that. It doesn't get paid or gets paid. Nobody knows. That's speculation. I can't prove that. I so far haven't just 63,000 pages of documents. A lot of it's redundant, but it's a lot of stuff to go through, and people are going to pull this out, and if they find out if he was or wasn't, we don't know yet. That's conjecture. I'm just reading the files and giving you my opinions on it, and only my opinions. Okay, let's keep reading. On an April 3rd, 1978 routing and record sheet. What is a routing and record sheet? This is, you have records that were filed, say, in 1959 or something. So this records of file release was in 1978 to investigate the Warren Commission's findings. Okay. And so they put the records, say these were tape recordings or whatever, how they got them, and they file what they were and that they are truthful. This is factual, and it should be kept for the records. That's what it is in a nutshell. Okay. You can see it there. It's really messed up and it's hard to read, but this is what I found. Please find the attached correspondence received from one Sergei Korosnofanov, I can't pronounce his name, who claims that he provided information about Lee Harvey Oswald to American Vice Consul, presumably Tom Blackshear, in Sofia, Bulgaria in August 1963, before the assassination. So this part is extremely interesting. Just keep reading. Mr. Veslov's counsel gave me the order to transmit this information to the U.S. government on August 9, 1963 in Sofia, Bulgaria. Mr. Vazves, consul embassy of the USSR, saved me this information about Mr. Oswald on August 14, 1963. Miss Bashria Azanov, a girlfriend of a Russian consul, came to my room and repeated that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is an assassin. He will kill President Kennedy. On August 15th, 1963 in Sofia, Bulgaria, at the airport in the embassy car, I told him, Mr. Blackshear, American Vice Consul, that Mr. Oswald was an assassin. He has a weapon or has ordered one. Mr. Blackshear said it seemed like he will kill someone. I said that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald was preparing to kill President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Blackshear said, where will it happen? I said the right wing will invite President, criticize him in the newspaper, then kill him. Mr. Blackshear told me he will give the telegram to the Department of State and gave me the address where to report. And it goes on, and it gets even more interesting. At 9 a.m. on August 19th, 1963, in Washington, D.C., I went to see Mr. Kipinahan, Director of Special Counselor Service, Department of State, at 1901 Pennsylvania Avenue, 11th floor. I told the director that I have information about Mr. President Kennedy. The director said, do not mention the name of President Kennedy. Only respond to the questions. The director said, tell us what will happen to Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald then. I said, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald will be killed after he kills Kennedy. It's kind of blotted out. I said, I will take the truth drug to tell the truth. Director, tell us who else gets killed in this country. I said, as I heard, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be killed. Who will kill Dr. King Jr., the civil rights leader? I said, a man who is in prison at this time, Mr. James Earl Ray, who was in prison at the time. Director asked where the assassinations will happen. I said in Dallas, Texas. Director said if someone gave this information here, I would expel the man. Director did not call on the Director called on the FBI agents after FBI used anesthesia gas to freeze me, to drug me, to keep amnesia. I told Director Department of State that Lee Harvey Oswald has a weapon. Go see him. The director told me, you too can have a weapon. So what if Oswald got a weapon? What do you think of that? Oops, where was I? I lost my place. Okay, yeah, a weapon. He had a weapon. Kennedy was popular, but however, people didn't like John F. Kennedy, especially in certain places in the South. And Kennedy wasn't one to take it lightly. He's going to tell it like it is and go where it's hot. The enemy's hot. So, what do you expect from a World War II veteran whose PT boat, small patrol boat, was rammed by a Japanese destroyer, and he swam several miles, bringing some of his wounded buddies to reach some island, and swam more after that until they found rescue, and injured his back during the event as well. And so you tell somebody like that not to come. But anyway, in Dallas, Texas, there were some unsavory people. I think it was the mayor and some other people that seemed to have different connections to people. And then the next document that was really intriguing me came out, and there's this guy. So then there's this memo dated on July 19th, 1967, regarding former CIA employee Gary Underhill, who stated, the day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination. He confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably that he would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it a suicide. The verdict of suicide in Underhill's death is by no means convincing. His body was found by a writing collaborator, Asher Brines, of the New Republic. He had been shot behind the left ear, and an automatic pistol was under his left side. Odd, says Brines, because Underhill was right-handed. Brines thinks the pistol was fitted with a silencer, and the occupants in the apartment building could not recall hearing a shot. Underhill obviously had been dead several days. So the question arises, this is one of the most interesting things, is there a small clique in the CIA that existed then that would do such a thing, and who are they? And can they be identified? And the answer is yes. It goes back to the foundation and formulation of the U.S. aid program by John F. Kennedy. Why did John F. Kennedy form the U.S. aid program? Because there was one prior to that, something else. There's many agencies who were doing it, so they codified in one. But there's one particular one that was an umbrella agency, so to speak. And before I show you that, let me explain some other things that happened. Before that, they wanted to bump off Fidel Castro. And through the records, you can read that Fidel Castro had nothing to do with it. In fact, he didn't like the idea of Kennedy getting shot, because that means the people, some unsavory sorts would be taken over. And that's from Castro's point of view, and also has some interesting about Castro being utterly ruthless, a murderer, and all that stuff in it as well. Castro was no nice guy, and Che Guevara was a brutal person who anybody who wears their jacket with his picture on or a T-shirt should really understand the guy would shoot them in a heartbeat. So they don't know who they're celebrating. But anyway, so these people were ruthless. But anyway, they had this thing, this little organization organized something called the Bay of Pigs invasion. I think it was a covert CIA operation, and it went south. Kennedy did not approve of it, but it went on anyway, and that raised a stink. Okay, and it failed because the Cubans fought them back and butchered them. Okay, it was an actual invasion of a foreign country by Cuban anti-Castro people from Cuba coming in there, and there's aircraft from America flying over there unmarked. They had things going on. It was a botched invasion, and Kennedy wanted no part of it. He got tired of this. Goes, who's funding this? Well, this organization of these people, the small clique in the CIA, is doing it. And so, Kennedy goes, okay, what's the organization's name? So I brought it up here. It is the ICA. Instead of the CIA, it's ICA. But it's what is it called? The answer is seen in this 1959 pamphlet cover, International Cooperation Administration, aka the ICA. They involve themselves in gun running and psyops and everything. Okay, and I wrote down here, the ICA became transitioned into the U.S. aid, which was originally formed by JFK to stop funding of dirty clandestine operations and be only for humanitarian purposes only. It did not work out that way. And I took this off of a clip off a news thing here. It says, at the time of his assassination, Dallas Mayor Earl Campbell, brother of one-time Deputy Director of Central Intelligence Charles P. Cable, had been a CIA asset since 1956. It is worth noting that Kennedy dismissed CIA Director Allen Dulles in November 61, that Earl Cable's brother Charles left the CIA on January 31st, 1962, after Kennedy forced him to resign. Thus, both Dulles and Charles Cable were no longer working for the CIA on November 22nd, 1963, when Kennedy was killed. So Kennedy got rid of this organization because it was involved in clandestine operations. And so with that, I want to talk about some of that right now. So that article, I didn't write this down. I kind of had to write it and type it real quick here it's kind of hard to read. It states that Gary Underhill had been an intelligent agent during World War II. Gary Underhill is the guy who shot himself. He was right-handed, shot himself with a silencer on his gun in an angle that's impossible for even anyone to do. So that's who he was. And he was afraid, said he was going to blow the lid off, a whistleblower here, that this rogue clique within the CIA was responsible. Allen Dulles and that Cable guy who got fired, and their little organization got popped. So what kind of organization was what do you call that again? The ICA. CIA, ICA. Well, how cute. But anyway, I'm sorry. International Cooperation Administration sounds so benign. A humanitarian effort and all that. It wasn't. If you want to know what it was about, I'll tell you. You'll be shocked. Okay? So Gary Underhill had been intelligence agents during the war. That's who Gary Underhill was. He was a recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms. So what in the world is limited warfare? Well, limited warfare has been a policy of the United States since probably 1950s, Korea War, Vietnam, so forth, etc., Afghanistan lately, a limited war. We like to fight limited wars. First off, this is a policy on how to wage war a new, more kinder, gentler way. I'm being kind of nutty here. Just stick with me here for a second. limited wars in which the belligerents, both sides, do not expend all their resources, whether they're human, industrial, business, corporate, banks, whatever, agriculture, natural or technological, and so forth, in a specific conflict as you would in total war, like they did in World War II. In World War II, for example, we fought a total war. The economy of the entire United States was geared to fight a total war. All industry, you made shoes, leather for shoes, for combat boots. You had food was rationed. Yeah, people prospered and all that, making the war implements, tanks, planes, and rivets and bolts and nuts and everything that's needed to keep and pump gasoline and get it over to the troops, build ships. Everything was devoted to win the war. And in the process, war at that time was fought a total war where you obliterated everybody else's factories and means of production and infrastructure. You obliterated it. And so when you obliterate something, you have to rebuild it. So in World War II in Europe, they obliterated so many cities and laid waste. They had something called the Marshall Plan, so Europe would not starve to death. And also, the Soviet Union was a diametrical threat, threatening invasion and taking over Europe as well during that time. There's a little history lesson here for you. So that is total war. Limited war avoids those things. It fights it on a limited scale, but it's still a war, you know. They called it a police action in Korea, a limited war and police action in Vietnam. This was a new policy that the think tanks, CFR and other places thought of. This is the best way to fight a war without devastating another country's economic thing. So we don't have to build it back if we take it over. It's already there. Or we can use limited war to destroy a regime, a country, and put our people in that country, keep the infrastructure sound so we can take the resources from them. That's limited war. It's a dirty little war. You ever? I don't know if you watch. I think it's on MGM. I get it on Amazon Prime, called Rogue Warriors, about the history of the SAS. That's the kind of organization I'm talking about. They'll drive down like in World War II in the African desert, went through a airfield. This is true. They shot up the planes, but they killed all the pilots and everybody they could possibly. They wiped everybody out. They played dirty, and they were they went behind the lines and caused chaos. And after the war, it went clandestine to bring down countries through clandestine means, and that's what happened. That is a limited war. Okay, that's what it does. So you don't fight it like a total war. You fight it as a dirty war. The bottom line is this about limited war policy, or its doctrine is this: it places limits and restrictions on war by keeping it going for as long and slow as possible. Yeah, think about it. It places restrictions on war. This was saw in both Korea and primarily big time in Vietnam. The Democratic Party kept putting restrictions on how to wage a war. We'll do this step, we'll do that step. And while they're obliterating everything, because, well, there's nothing to obliterate, they lived in the jungle anyway. But, it's like, you know, um, there was a guy that I know that was up there. He's a Vietnam vet. He came back and he told me what outfit he was in. He was in a real specialist unit, and they were going around where the troops were with radioactive detectors. They're looking for uranium. They found it. There was some uranium in Vietnam. I don't know how much or how little, he never really said, but they said that they discovered this by several of the indigenous people digging in the areas would come back feeling sick, and sometimes they had burns on their hands for digging in the mud. And so they found out there was some uranium there. So now you kind of understand the resources that was going on there and why the United States really wanted it. If he was, I don't know how much uranium was there. I mean, he says there was. I'm just taking his word for it. I can't prove it. I looked it up, and all that. But you can do your own research on it. I mean, Go ahead. And so that's limited war. So you want to keep it going as long as possible. Why? Why do you want to keep a war going on, like, that doesn't happen in modern times, does it? Forget about Ukraine, how, let's just keep it going as long as possible, throw money at it, okay? Why? Okay? So I'm going to look at my notes so I don't forget everything. Okay? Well, this way you can make a fortune made for the military industrial complex, as well as the pockets of politicians following a policy. And this could also be used in a psychological psyops type of way to alter a nation's population's mentality, to go and get them to go a certain direction they otherwise would not go. In other words, you use the war to housebreak them. It's very, 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 very dirty. So in the 1960s, this protest against the Vietnam War changed, and society began to change. And the leftists swept into power in the universities in the 60s and 70s during the Vietnam War. That is a dirty, stinking, limited war. It's just not against nations, it's against populations, even the friendly one who the one you live in. Those people want to alter you as well as the people who they are attacking. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is dirty, dirty war. This is what Kennedy wanted to stop. Again, I'm giving you my opinion here. And my best hypothesis. Treat this as a hypothesis, folks. And this is heavy duty stuff when you look at it. So what you want to do is in fact, I read some of this stuff in Alice Bailey stuff about war and stopping war. And I think she mentioned how war produces fast change for the better, like increases technology, change society. You can improve society and culture and flip it into a more Gentile, controllable society. And you can outlaw war eventually. And it's something out of theosophy, but basically, this is the same idea of a limited war. It produces fast change, increases technology, you develop weapon systems, surveillance systems, so forth, etc. Exponentially, where it would take hundreds of years to do, you do it really fast because you're fighting a war. And you got all the resources toward it, and you got a bunch of politicians. But you got to ask yourself, where are they getting their money? Because a lot of this money has to be accounted for, and by the taxpayers. Not anymore, but back then you had to have some accountability. So back in those days, you have to raise money. Okay, so basically, a limited war is waged on a diplomatic front. It's all about diplomacy. Henry Kissinger. Anyway, in Vietnam, as well as a cognitive warfare. What is cognitive warfare? Cognitive warfare is waged on a society, a people, or a nation to feed them misinformation, disinformation, and distract them in order to lower their sensibilities and change their outlook on life and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Basically, housebreak them through propaganda and enforcement. You will believe Mr. Science. Mr. Science is always right. Okay? Trust your government, and all those things, it's just psyops. They're only looking out for your best interest. So, the way you're living your life, you're exploiting resources that others don't have. But we need to open our borders to make so you pay back what. So you pay them back for stealing from them, but you never were in their country, and the United States was never in their country, and never took any resources. Come on in. Because of us, you're poor. Now you can have everything we own, and we will help you do it. Alter a population. Hello, UK. How you like it? How do you like cognitive warfare being implemented upon you? It's found in the Bible. It's called the New World Order. It's the Antichrist system. When the Antichrist comes on the scene and he reveals himself, and there's 3.5 year period where he does utter everything he wants and everything he wants to do. Wow, we are getting very, very close, in my opinion, toward the end. Okay. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm just giving you my observation on the matter. I could be wrong on the whole thing, but I'm not wrong about cognitive warfare. Look it up. Look it up. Look up psyops and all that stuff, like MKL Ultra or whatever that was called. I'm dyslexic and I slip letters around, so it's MLK Ultra, I think, and that was going on in the '60s as well. Part of this program. Okay, so that's what they were doing. Okay, I hope I made that clear. So it's psyops, propaganda. Those that use limited war clandestinely, this is how they raise money to do it for the war. They do it through arms dealing, through drug trafficking, and trafficking human beings. They use blackmail, take pictures with trafficked people to get them to do what you want. Through direct pressure, accidents looking an accident that was actually assassination that's made to look like an accident, things like that. Bribes, James Bond stuff, underhanded, dirty stuff to get rich, ruthless people who are addicted to certain things, sex, whatever, and use that as leverage against them. This is the stuff that Gary Underhill was involved in. And evidently, I think Mr. Underhill's conscience got the best of him when he found out that Kennedy was shot by this small clique within the USA because, in the CIA, because Kennedy had it out with Dulles and this other guy, Charles Cabell. He worked for the ICA, which was a gun running psyops type of a limited warfare thing. And it was not for it's for international cooperation and administration, right? So it was a front in order to get money for really weird things that'll help weaken a society or a culture in some other nation, to weaken it so you can get your people in the halls of power over there. And so here we are, with U.S. aid. U.S. aid started out as a humanitarian thing to replace that, but when Kennedy was gone, there's no need to just use U.S. aid to do the same thing. And DOD, factual evidence has found out they were undermining societies and cultures in other nations with trans dancing and how to transition kids in Africa, whatever they found. What was that? Millions and millions of dollars for condoms for the Gazans. Forget about food and water. You need condoms, and lots of them. ISIS, terrorist, Hamas. Just use condoms next time. Right. And you wonder why nations don't like the United States, don't like. It's not that they don't like the United States. They like the people. They like the United States freedom. It's not so much they don't like these people doing the dirty work. The Cubans who escaped from Fidel Castro were used for a failed invasion attempt. Just total boondoggle. That was funded by money that comes from some of these sources. Iran Contra scandal with, I can't remember, I mean, a Marine guy. I like the guy. He was a pretty cool dude. But you know, it this is the type of clandestine operations this time were used. But their rationale is we're fighting the Marxists and communists. And the idea of limited war is you won a war. And the actual idea of the limited war system was we ultimately have to go to war with Russia and China, primarily Russia. And so now you have a push now of wanting to go and start a third world war with Russia without any sense to it. Because these people are brain dead, intellectual geniuses, but brain dead to reality. And that's what you're dealing with. So the ICA became transitioned to US aid, which was originally formed by JFK to stop funding a dirty clandestine operations and be only for humanitarian purposes only. It did not work out that way, as we have found out. This is only the tip of the iceberg. Is this stuff true? Remains to be seen. Why wasn't it included? Looks like some pretty heavy stuff, but what if I remember right, from some other things I read, some of this was say, oh, these people made it up, and this was just we can't include that. They poo-pooed it off because people were being exposed. All these people that are in there are no longer alive, so it ain't gonna hurt nobody. But the idea of what they're doing. Now, when the Epstein file comes out, I wonder what unredacted, I wonder what clandestine stuff will be pulled up and what was being uncovered and what blackmail was being used against people. You ever read the book The Firm, or saw the movie The Firm? And I think it was, who was the guy in there? Oh, I can't remember. Why can't I remember actors' names? I guess I don't remember their names because I could care less about actors, as long as they act good. So anyway, this guy went to an island to work for a firm, and they drugged him and took pictures of him with some woman who was bribing him. Says, if you don't do what we say, we're going to show this picture to your wife. And he had to do what they said. So that was The Firm. Okay, defending mafiosis types and winning the case through any and all means possible, bribes, whatever. And so that's pretty much how this stuff works. They also work through the mafia as well. I mean, and another report that came out, and I don't know if this was disproven or not. It probably was, but probably wasn't. It might hold weight, but it's possibly it's not nothing at all. It's just somebody's imagination. But Jack Ruby, the guy who shot Oswald, was identified as the second shooter. Some of the witnesses that witnessed this stuff oddly died. And a lot of their stuff is not given. So while they're telling us there's nothing there, it looks like there's something to me. And you can write in the comments what you think. I just thought you might want to know a little bit about this and just tell me what you think. I'm giving a disclaimer. This is just my speculation from what I know about this stuff, and being an amateur historian and a military history buff, and understanding that Vietnam and Korea was a police action or limited war model doctrine that the United States has. Fight a slow, protracted war. Don't give a hoot about what you spend or what items are dispensed. Whatever. If the helicopter's in the way, it's perfectly good. Throw it off the ship. We don't need, if we crash one, we'll get 10 more. We're going to make somebody rich in this war, okay? They don't care one iota about the equipment. And here we have a modern example of that same mindset with General willy-nilly Millie abandoning all this equipment in Afghanistan to our enemies. I wonder what payoff that was. What type of dirty stuff was going on in that? How many people died falling off of planes and were tortured to death afterwards? in this debacle of a withdrawal. It wasn't a withdrawal in a logical stage and testing each side. Maybe there could be some peace deal broker, but no. This is one of the reasons I like talking to combat veterans. So I learned this from many of them from Vietnam. I learned a little bit about the Gulf War and some of them from Afghanistan. And they come back with an attitude because they see, I can't say the word here, I'm not supposed to. They see that it's a word that starts with an S, ends with a T, and they've seen it. And they've seen stuff like that. Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders in the um, Spanish-American War in the late 1890s there. He stormed up San Juan Hill and stuff, and they were fighting for corporations. They wanted the sugar cane and the bananas and whatever else they could grow there, and that's why the war was fought. And so a lot of the soldiers came back, kind of, what did I just do? What was the purpose of this thing? That's a limited war. That's the policy. And when you add together some wording that's out of theosophy, the people who helped found the UN, Alice Foster Bailey and all the theosophists were involved in that. It's quite the amazing thing. Where's that slide I had here? Okay, I guess the wrong one. Was it this one? No, it wasn't that. I read it to you. Where did I read that? Oh well, I might be over here. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. And you have here a document on August 1960, 19th, 1963, and Kennedy was assassinated in 63. There was evidently, they planned to get rid of him and Dr. Martin Luther King. They already had the guy primed for it, James Earl Ray. Or maybe he was a patsy, we don't know. They already had everything planned from this clandestine organization. And I don't know what to tell you. We went through 4 years of this junk in the United States here. And now you guys in Europe are going through it. We would be there with you if a certain person was elected president. Our rights would be stripped from us. We won't have any rights. Foreigners will have more rights than us. And they want our kids. They want to brainwash them to make them good little Marxists. This is where I think there's an element of the possible occult behind this. The theosophist, the hermeticist, and the ancient pagan religions hiding behind a smoke screen of lower peon, black magic, white magic type people, and Wiccans and stuff, hiding behind them so they remain unseen, pulling the strings. They want a one world order. They want to prepare the way, for the Antichrist to come. It's a small cadre, I assure you, but they're very dedicated, and they have stages of initiation, and you won't know. They do it through the art of seduction of the mind, and you thinking you're doing a good thing, a noble thing as an angel of light, but you're actually working for the devil. So it all fits. It's just, this is my hypothesis, and that's all I got to say. Somebody, they want to, anyone could, if they find something different, I will admit that I'm wrong and I'll take this back, I'll up to my mistake and say that. But this is, I'm just saying, this is a hypothesis. It's possibly right, But I'm just showing you just a little bit of evidence. There's more evidence that I don't have that maybe would refute what I just said. So I'm going to open that up for you to consider too. So, I know it's late on the East Coast, and I know I kind of came on here because I had other things to do today, but I just wanted to get this out and talk about it, and then see the reaction I get on YouTube with it, if any at all. Maybe nothing, or even on Facebook. But again, this could be all hogwash. We don't know, but it looks like this is going where it's pointing to is plausible. It makes sense. Two people of prominence get fired, and the president wants to shut down this organization, and they want to get rid of them, and they're shouting bloody murder too, and planning it. Huh? It's something oddly familiar about that tune. And as I see Tulsa trucks, and if you want an electric vehicle, fine. You have the money for it, go for it. I can't pay the electric bill for it, but if you can, man, go for it. But now they're burning them down, devastating people's Telsas out in the parking lot. I mean, threatening a Congress lady. I mean, and I think it's the House of Representatives. Yeah, lady threatened Elon Musk, to basically implying strongly that for her birthday, best birthday present is that he be, what. Yeah. And they're going to protest. They're getting rid of schools. We're going to protest. We're going to, do an insurrection, right? But you're allowed to, because you're communists. I mean, you're Democrats. You're following Chairman Mao to the T. I can't believe how stupid you people can be. But then again, I did a video on stupidity of the stupid. So they can never admit that they're wrong. And what is insanity? Insanity is keep doing the same thing and expecting the same result. That is insanity. That is Marxism in a nutshell. And so anyway, what do y'all think? And just put it in the description, and if you have conflicting information, please put it in there. I'll retract everything I say. I will say, I was wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right. And this is the most detailed thing. I'm throwing this out there just to make people think. Check it out yourself. This could be wrong. Yeah, I may be right. I don't know. But with that, I want to go ahead and conclude this matter. And if you like to contact me or anything like that, I just put my contact information up there for you on the screen, and all my support information. It'll be a great help if you do. I'm not going to even do my usual spiel on it right now. I'm just going to let you see it up there. And with that, I'm going to head shortly to the live chat just to see if there's any questions. Okay. Only Ren's here and Morgan's here. 2 night owls. Okay. Oh, there's quite a few people here. Okay. Yeah. Oh boy. So Oswald was the CIA. Ironically, also wrote a letter to the FBI telling him to leave his wife alone and quit harassing her. They were. Yeah. Mae Brussels researches best along with Penn Jones. A few others uncovered a lot more than what these documents will tell you. Yeah, there's a lot more in the documents that people haven't had a chance to read yet. It could collaborate all this other stuff. Yeah. People don't know these things, Ren. Is there anything about Dorothy Killigan, who interviewed Jack Ruby, got the whole story, but she was, and so was Ruby? And you mentioned one of the ladies, the babushka lady. She's standing on the opposite side of the grassy knoll. I think driver's side of limo there. She vanished. Hmm. Yeah. And Ren says there were two Oswells. I was not aware of that, but that's something new to me. I'll have to look that up. You can send me the info too if you like. Ren, wasn't aware. I only thought there was one. Okay. There was a stormy relationship. Eyewitness. I don't think Oswald hit his wife, but um, his wife was really, from my understanding, was very controlling and demeaning to him. Would fit the profile of somebody who became an assassin. But he was also a volatile, high-strung person as well. So I don't know. And actually, at this point, I don't think it really matters. Yeah. Yeah. No one. Yeah. And Oswald's wife ordered the one rifle in the mail that she's the one that used the name Alec Heidel. Yeah. And another thing about the rifle is that guy I told you about here. Let me go back and show you here. What's his name again? This guy, Gary Underhill, um, who was the person who let's see, look at my notes here. Yeah, he was an intelligence officer, did this type of thing. The rifle that was where she purchased the gun from was one of the same dealers that he purchased guns and weapons from as well. So the plot thickens. It really does. And he purchased weapons from the same place, same dealer as where the mail order rifle came from. And back in the 60s, you could order a gun through the mail. I know that's strange for people to see nowadays. Yeah. Yeah, this is what got people going. I remember them declassifying some of the stuff in the 70s and a lot of stuff, and then they all just brushed it under the rug. Yeah, and they had three separate cities: Miami, Dallas, and I forget the third. Yeah, he got a job at Love Field. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. The Dulles angle, pretty obvious. That's who was behind it. We have an airport in D.C. named after him. Um, Well, I'm glad you were able to keep count. CIA 4-minute, 43 plus small wars since the end of World War II, taking down countries and establishing their own form of government. This has all led to World War III, as you can see, and that is the purpose of limited war policy. I'm kind of jazzing it up. I mean, I don't want to be so dry about it, but yeah, that's right. Yeah, people don't realize what happened in Greece in '67 and all this stuff. Yeah, what was that? The Ugly American. There's a movie, I think, what came out, and Audie Murphy, uh, Medal of Honor winner in World War II, became an actor when he came back. And I think he died in a plane crash, but he did a movie about the ugly American, and give you the games that the the what do you call them, the hoity-toity elitist, the very, 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 very most very supremely important people of the world play. So it's interesting. So just put your comments in the descriptions, because it remains to be seen. Ren put out some good points. Other people have pointed out these same things, and it seems to be beginning to fit together. Pictures beginning to form, and it doesn't look good. So it'd be interesting to see what the Epstein files reveal, and I'd be very interested to find out. And I know Epstein invited people to go there who just went to the island and left and did nothing. They were at a meeting or something they held there or whatever at this place, um, and they had no dealings with what's going on there at all. But they were just on the island is enough to get them blackmailed. Just think about that. So yeah. Well, everybody, I think I'm just going to go ahead and go, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the screen. Just let me know what you think. Again, this is all just I'm just hypothesizing here. And if it's true, it's true. If it's not, it's not. It just remains to be seen what else is found in the. This is more information that I've seen in a while, and people keep finding stuff. This is just some of the latest. There's even stuff I didn't even get a chance to talk about. Uh, um, yeah, about Mr. Underhill and everything too. There's a lot more, but it gives you credit. It gives some credibility to the documentation in the way they held and documented this stuff. They were required to on that record sheet, and the dates on there. So there was definitely something planned. It's just interesting how it's all set up. So it's just interesting, isn't it? It's just interesting. So with that, you guys be blessed in Jesus' name, and